Hello and welcome. My name is Ayush Alavadi. Now let's start off with the big story of the day. Facebook-owned instant messaging platform WhatsApp started rolling out UPI-based payment features to select Indian users last week. Many WhatsApp users on iOS and Android have already received the feature in some sort of way. WhatsApp Pay is what it's called. This payment feature is likely to give a major boost to the digital payments landscape. Remember, WhatsApp has a user base of over 200 million users in India. WhatsApp's integration of UPI poses a threat for the existing players in the payment space like Paytm, Google Pay, Truecaller and the like. So how would this move impact India's digital landscape? To discuss that, I'm joined by Vijay Shekhar Sharma, founder and CEO of Paytm. He joins us from Toronto live. Vijay, thanks so much for speaking to us on Bloomberg Quint. Now, I've been going through your Twitter timeline, Vijay, and you do seem, well, a little angry at this particular move. And you do actually accuse the platform WhatsApp of killing the open UPI platform and the way it actually functions. If you could elaborate and tell us where exactly all of that comes from and what the point that you're actually trying to make.
Well, I think if you look at India and India's stack, it has been a platform which allows any company to build payment system and various financial services systems. It also has few guidance that, for example, like if you want to build a UPI system, you must have the ability to send money to an Aadhaar linked account, an Aadhaar number. You must have an ability to receive money, send money, and pay to anybody, agnostic of that customer is on your platform or not. And you must have login password, authentication, securities, all sorts of things. All this is totally not there when you look at WhatsApp product. When I looked at WhatsApp product, it is flawless and smooth, except that it is exactly because you're violating every other obligation. We wish we could do that because we were asked not to let this happen. So here it is. What I'm trying to say is Facebook, with its tricks to continue to trick countries, is tricking us again, and it is doing things which are not supposed to be the way they're supposed to be. I mean, the problem here is that Facebook must not do things which it did in internet, access way, in the payments way. It should live by, abide by all the regulation, all the suggestions that are there, all the guidances that are there in the country.
Okay. Now, Vijay, when you mention these guidances, and I'm guessing you're sort of alluding to the fact that they've gotten some sort of preferential treatment. What is this preferential treatment that's been meted out to them? And also, why do you think Paytm couldn't go all out with this? Are you saying that, well, was Paytm actually restricted in some sort of a way?
Yep, absolutely. Paytm beta rollout required us to complete every end-to-end feature, including features which customers may need or not. For example, like request money. For example, like paying to Aadhaar ID. And by the way, we just assume that there would not be many payments, but they are happening there on our platforms, some of them. So there were end-to-end, whole to the T list that we had to comply by. And Facebook is able to launch a payment platform just by a few of those. And that too in a workflow which is open blatantly, is violating even the basics of security in this country. I mean, it is ridiculous to see that our whole of the banking system is now open on a WhatsApp login, and there's no login, by the way. It's just on a WhatsApp app. There is no login password. There are countries with 3-factor authentication in this country, and none of them is being applied for. Well, the point here is that Facebook is used to of tricking systems to its advantage. It does that openly and violently in the rest of the world. It will take content from content providers and it'll trick them. It'll take access from access providers and it'll trick them. I remember Sunil Bharti Mittal talking about it in Barcelona, that if you want to do this philanthropy, please buy data from us and give it to the consumer for free. Exactly, the trick. And in the same scenario, here is another Facebook trick. In other words, claiming that consumers can get a superior experience without going through the compliance obligations of every other kind, which could be detrimental, starting from security to the every act of fraud that can happen in this country. Well, here it is. Facebook wants to do these things.
Okay.
And when we talked to NPCI, they said, this is beta run. It'll be corrected till the time it is launched. But that has never happened in this country. People launch things in beta and they remain the way they are in beta.
Right, Vijay, and we also did try reaching out to the NPCI. Obviously, they declined to comment. But just to understand some of your issues, you also mentioned that you seem to have some issues when it comes to interoperability as well. When it comes to WhatsApp, Vijay, just zooming out of the situation, not worrying so much about the individual players. And I know, of course, you're the founder of Paytm, but just to look at the payments landscape. I understand your security concerns and we'll address them as well. But when it comes to the payments landscape, this seems to be, from our conversations over the years with people involved in the digital payment space, something that could be the sort of fillip that was needed for the digital payments push. I mean, I know post-demonetization, we saw a lot of accounts on Paytm and a lot more activity. But in terms of WhatsApp, considering the user base, don't you think this is actually a positive move, at least in terms of making these payments a little more ubiquitous and pervasive?
I think there is no secret about it. If they would have spent any penny on doing the same, I would have believed it. The problem is that we have spent 10,000 crore and more, spending more in this year only to progress payment in this country. Here is our friend who's coming and not even a software developer sits in the country. I mean, baby software engineers list. The number of people who would do something. No server sits in India. No regulation comes in India. No tax filing happens in India. And you're telling that, oh, it could be good for this country. Yeah, I remember the free basic nearly pitched the same way. It could just bring the people who don't have access to internet on the internet. Oh, except that you don't call it internet. Now, you could do the payment, but you don't do the insecure payment like this is what you're doing. That's what it is. Yeah, it gets disguised. All agendas are disguised under a cover of good. That is what is this.
Okay, Vijay, but when you talk about this being essentially a closed garden implementation of UPI, the argument you make sounds uncannily familiar to what was happening when Facebook came up with free basics and, well, essentially that product in its different avatars. Why do you think it's tantamount to that? Why do you say so?
So let me tell you, Google is built on open internet ecosystem, and Facebook inherently is built on closed ecosystem. And that is why Facebook's thought process always works. How can I close it? How can I wall garden it? How can I conclude it within myself? And they have disproportionate amount of distribution, which is to their advantage, and the money, which just continue to be the closed ecosystem. Well, you could build your own closed ecosystem. There is nothing wrong about it, except that you should follow the rules and regulation of building an open ecosystem because you're using an open rail. You could build and take whatever you wanted to do, but not in this scenario, my friend. The problem is that India championed open ecosystem. India's tech championed open ecosystem. UPI was supposed to any bank to any bank to any customer to any customer. No, it is not. Now, the very fact that it was an open platform is giving birth on Facebook platform to a closed loop system. Please, let it not happen. Let it not happen in this country. And there is no contribution they're doing whatsoever to this country, not even the tax on the money they make in this country. I mean, I'm not going to start on this foreign versus Indian rhetoric, but I just want to remind you that companies are treating us as a consumption market, not even an investment market. Hilariously said. And then you talk about servers. Security. I'm sure you know the kind of fraud that happened in PNB, that one system, the SWIFT system, was disconnected from core banking system. Yeah? You're reading that.
Absolutely.
Right?
We've been on top of that news.
You know what? Yeah. And you know what? That is what I'm trying to tell you. If the systems are not aligned and kept together, they could create a ton of frauds. WhatsApp system will never connect to a bank system. There will be two different systems. They don't even have a machine and API system which is connecting in this. Well, we are opening to a fraud here.
Vijay, just to play devil's advocate over here. Now, I'm not making this an apples and oranges debate, but just to put two products out there, because we know how Paytm has also become so popular in the country, especially in the last 1 or 2 years. When you talk about the issues you have with the security infrastructure of us using WhatsApp on the UPI interface, how does the Paytm product become any more secure or any safer for those of us watching?
I just want to tell you one thing. Paytm system is owned by Paytm Payment Bank, which obligates itself to be running all kind of compliance obligations of keeping the data within Indian boundaries, access controls which are there of PCI DSS and everything else. This doesn't go on WhatsApp. It's an independent messenger app. It's not a financial service app. It does not get regulated by any measure whatsoever of that. It's a consumer content app. It's a social network app, which is totally there. So Should I say that we are more secure than them? Answer is, I'm not the judge of that. I'm just trying to tell you one thing.
Right.
They're not even obligated to bother about security here.
But obviously, Vijay, when they've been in talks with the NPCI for so long coming up with this product, there have to be some checks and balances that have been, they have to have followed the procedural guidelines to get this product to market.
Well, I can tell you this. The trick masters, they've always done this. Cheap trick masters.
Okay.
Evil trick masters.
Okay, you're calling them evil trick masters, but when it comes to security, at the end of the day, Vijay, we know how UPI works. We know how UPI
so much of data you would not even know.
Right.
Okay. I just want to help you understand.
Fair enough.
Are we trusting a company whose CEO knows that I will keep my camera blocked because they know by themselves the amount of data they track from a customer, and now you are adding the payment data? You were talking about privacy problem a few days back in this country,
right.
And we are not talking about privacy problem in this case. I mean, I don't have to tell you all this. This sounds like whining as an Indian.
No, Vijay. I'm very glad that I'm very glad we're having this conversation. But just from we're getting loads of comments coming in as well, and just to put things in a nutshell, these concerns are with any other app out there. Even for be it in China, people have these issues. Even saying, why does Alibaba have so much of my data, or Amazon in the US? I mean, these data concerns are all wherever data is controlled. People are concerned.
I'm trying to help you understand that here is an entity whom you are giving away the data, who doesn't have you don't have any control whatsoever in this country.
Right.
At least in China, at least in US, they have a control over those countries, and at least European Union can find them. Do I have to narrate now more?
No, fair enough.
This country, they don't have a sales team here in this country.
Okay.
Suck the money out of Indians and take it tax-free back home.
Okay, Vijay, I want to ask you one thing, only based on a technical standpoint. You say procedurally there were some lapses when you allege that when it comes to procedural guidelines being followed, there were some lapses. Do you want to elaborate on that as well when it comes to the WhatsApp case?
Look, I think I just want to tell you one thing, that there are n number of things. We've shared them with NPCI, we've shared them, and there is a whole long list. The justification that is coming is by 31st March, they would implement everything else. No, I'll wait for login and password on WhatsApp on 31st March. Public announcement. I like to see that. And right now it is being claimed that 4 banks have given undertaking that we will take the risk if some fraud happens. Wow. Banks can take tens of thousands of crore risk in this country. I already know.
Okay. Now, since this is live, Vijay, I just want to take in a couple of comments, and I want and let's take your take on it very quickly. Okay, and we're being completely candid here, saying Sumantra Sen says going was good. Now you seem to be asking what's happening. That's one. The second one also goes in saying, why nothing new? WeChat payments is safe. It's working in China. Why are we so concerned? A lot of these questions are being asked. And also the fact that.
And just answer these. Let's just go 2 by 2 so that I can answer.
And also looks like Paytm has got a much bigger rival now. That seems to be another tone coming in from Pranil Kadam as well. So those are the questions that are being asked. Fair enough.
Yeah. So the my question to you is, let's answer each one of them, right? I just first answer about the WeChat.
Sure.
Is there in China? Please see login, password, authentication, security, not the download app and go, right?
Yes.
So are we understanding that?
Okay.
Payment security. Let's add in that. Now you're talking about what's happening here if going was good. Answer is, in this country, there is Amazon, there is Google, and trillion-dollar companies. And they don't have money obligation to raise. We never talked about what is wrong or right when they were there. We're talking about the partiality and cheap trick played by Facebook. Let me tell you again, going will be good and going will be challenged. This is the way of the life is. This is not even a question of whether it is an Indian company or international company. This is just a question of your mojo will be checked against everybody else's mojo. Today, we feel privileged that we can be in front of this fight that is happening. At the same point in time, we're wanting an equal fight for every dog in the game, not like superior advantage to some superior disadvantage to someone else. So what's happening is WhatsApp is getting an advantage play just because it is coming as a Facebook company. And third question was that, what was the third question?
Well, essentially the same things, Vijay, that looks like Paytm seems to be worried about a much bigger rival. These are comments coming in. That one's coming from Pranil Kadam as well.
Yeah. So let's understand. Paytm is run by a paranoid dude. This guy. Okay. This guy is paranoid. at a very different scale with everyone and anyone. We are paranoid about a company that you may not have heard the name of. We are not paranoid just about our peers whom we have visibility of.
Yes.
We are also paranoid about everything else that can
Yes.
hit. So it is not even a question. Number one. Number two, Paytm, I think Amazon has a more distribution and a customer has a brand name that it is a commerce company, and we never said anything about Amazon, so that you know this.
Yes.
So it is not about that WhatsApp is a bigger player over Amazon today. So I hope you're hearing it clearly.
Fair
that
enough.
it is a question of favored versus unfavored. It is not a question of one company just because we are pointing out that company. All right?
No, and very interesting points, Vijay. But I'd also like to ask you, when it comes to people watching this show on the whole, and not at the risk, obviously at the risk of sounding a little repetitive, but just to ask you, we've documented what your grouse is, and you've made some fair points. But when it comes to, users adopting these things, what would your message be to the NPCI per se?
You should not change the rules for different people differently. That's nothing else. And it is no secret about it. Better product survives to the end. No protection can ever be protection.
Right.
The world. It's an open fair market. I wish that it is an open fair market. That's it I'm asking for. No advantage to an Indian company or a foreigner company or a Facebook company for what the evil they are. Please. This is the most evil company in the world.
Right, Vijay, I really appreciate you joining us on Bloomberg when you've joined us live from Toronto, and thank you for being so candid and also, being the paranoid dude who answers all the questions so succinctly, and obviously, sharing your thoughts on this as well. We'll be in touch with you when there are more updates about this.